Yay, IDW Star Trek. Heather Antos is at it again, and this is such a bizarre situation that's going on here. You could see a marked change in how this has all gone through the situation over the years, and it's led up to this, which just came out, Volume 3, Glass and Bone, which I read last night. And I get it. I'm the only person reading here, but it's more insane than you think. So stay tuned, guys, because this is wild what they do to Star Trek and what they do to Vulcans. It's a complete bastardization of what goes on. And of course, we're going to critique it here because we tell you exactly what's going on in science fiction, especially comics. Thank you for tuning into JDA Talks Comics, and hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate you guys for being here and being real comic book readers as we talk about what's going on. I'm a comic creator myself, the most trusted name in science fiction fandom for a reason, and I've got a great science fiction comic. If you want real science fiction, something awesome, grab this. It's the Emerald Array. It is space marines fighting against demonic bug monsters from outer space who are attempting to destroy a human colony. They have to save it. It's a beautiful, beautiful story with a lot of fun. I'm taking the storytelling back. We've got art style that's like Jack Kirby from the 70s. It is so cool, guys. This is everything you've been looking for in a comic, and my early readers have told me such, which is great. Grab it. It's in the description below. Support independent comics. Really appreciate you for being there. Heather, you'd love this too, so it's great. Just buy my book, Heather, and check it out, because you should really have me be writing Star Trek, since these guys have no idea what they're doing. All right. Thank you for supporting, guys, so far. It's been amazing. So, yeah, like I said, this came out, and it's in a weird situation. So Star Trek produced these like hardcover volume sets through a group called Eagle Moss. And they got like almost every Star Trek volume done in history. I think there were about like 10 graphic novels worth that they missed. And then there were about 50 issues of DC Comics from the 80s that they missed. But it was a 140-volume set. I have the whole thing. It's beautiful. And so what they did was they started producing hardcovers of their new line that are kind of the same. And so they don't have the same sort of deal on the spine, but they're the same size, so it fits nicely on the same shelf. So I got happy with that. And as much as it is Antos Trek and it's terribly written, it's like some of the worst fan fiction I've ever read, going even from Volume 1. You know, they've got me as a collector. I can't do what can I do, right? I've got all the other volumes. It's tough. It's tough. And yes, you can shame me for that in the comments. It's fine. I deserve it. But I've covered how bad these volumes have been so far, and they did a Volume 1, Volume 2 of this, and then they have a spin-off series called Defiant. Why is Captain Sisko on this ship and not the Defiant? It doesn't make sense. These guys wanted to make their own ship, and what they did, like in the worst fan fiction fashion, they took a character from every show. So you've got Sisko, you've got Beverly Crusher and Data, you've got Tom Paris, and you've got Scotty, and they all form a ship together. And it's like, what? I mean, what a terrible fan fiction-y idea already. It takes place after Deep Space Nine ended, and then Sisko just comes back from the wormhole, nonchalant, and just like he runs this like special ops ship now. Like I said, just terrible fan fiction setup as it is. Like, I mean, this should have been canned immediately. It's rough. So this one, Volume 3, you can see it says IDW exclusive. So they came out with their hardcover volumes, and this is the setup for this. Then they had to solicit for Volume 3. They dropped it because I guess it wasn't selling well enough. They changed it to a paperback, and then they changed this to an IDW exclusive on their online store, I guess for a print-on-demand print run rather than actually having to go through Diamond with it, right? Because you need a couple thousand copies printed to go through Diamond. They probably didn't want to do that with this series that wasn't selling well, right? And so I'd already gone in on the hardcovers, and I'm like, gosh, dang it. But then I saw they came out with this exclusive. I'm like, wow, well, thank you for making my collector shelf right. That's like the one nice thing you've done. But it's been weird. And the Defiant Volume 3 is back in the solicits this month as in the normal Diamond as a hardcover again. So it's like they just did this one this way in a weird way. Don't know what happened. It's bizarre. Everything IDW does is bizarre. And so I started reading this last night, and there's already been a weird thing in the beginning where like the Vulcan. So there's two new characters. There's a Vulcan who's not on the cover here because they're embarrassed by it, and then there's an Andorian, just to have a couple aliens, and so the writers can write self-insert characters to hang out with Sisko, right? Because that's just how fan fiction works. And so the Vulcan started lecturing the Andorian in like the first volume about they called the starship she, and he's like, it's illogical that, it should have pronouns that are she when a starship is non-binary, and lecture that, and like, I'm just like, no, it's illogical. If you're going to go that route, you shouldn't be thinking about gender at all. It's like, you guys are insane. But in this volume, it gets even crazier. Just to start out, they reveal the Vulcan, it's actually herself, because Talir, T is always a prefix for a female name in I know my Star Trek guys, so it was a woman, and it looks like the character is not in the volume really at all. Looks androgynous, and they're gone away on some secret mission or something, and not on the ship anymore. But it looks like a dude androgynous person. So this is how they represent trans like people. They like kind of look like dudes if they're not. And you can see right here they go for the pronouns immediately. They just saved the quadrant, and this is about a single person. It's not multiple people. They deserve a promotion. Ben, it was their idea. So you could see immediately the Admiral and Captain Sisko are just like hammering home the they-them pronouns. They're non-binary. That's right. Please clap. So illogical, and this doesn't make sense from a Vulcan perspective. Like, Vulcans are, even with all their weird sexuality, like they are mating every 7 years, and that's the only time they lose control, and they like kind of have to mate, and that's that, right? So it's like they're supremely illogical, so they wouldn't be powered by, human sexual fetishes and things like that. It doesn't make any sense from a Vulcan level, even to be gay. Because it's illogical, again, because the whole point of sex is procreation, not pleasure. If it's pleasure, that's emotion, and that doesn't work, right? So this is intentionally flying in the face of the lore of Star Trek and of Vulcans. It's just subverting Vulcans on every level. It's terrible writing. What's more illogical is, so Talir obviously does not have a penis, it has a vagina. That's just how it works. And so Talir would be a girl, and so she would be a woman and would know that, and it would be illogical to call herself they, which is a plural word. And so based on logic, unless Talir's so screwed up that she's not following logic, which makes her not a Vulcan or makes her somebody who's like, the Vulcan society doesn't tolerate that shit, this wouldn't exist. And so it's absolutely cringy. They've turned Vulcans into they-them non-binaries in Heather Antos. This is Jackson Kelly and Colin Lansing, some of the worst writers in the industry that Heather's hired to do this. And this is what they're doing with Star Trek. It's crazy. Now, this whole setup is they go to some race we've never heard of. They fight against dinosaur people. The Romulans are subverting them. Like, the whole plot doesn't make sense either. Starfleet wants to stop a war, but they're running special ops just in case. The planet's about to die, and they're like, we're in a rock and a hard place. We could just let it die to stop the war, but then it's going to be genocide. It's like, that's not a rock and a hard place. You're going to stop the genocide. You're Starfleet. Like, what? This is like, they're trying way too hard, and then they just like didn't logically think the plot through, and then they just went with it. It's like they ran a first draft. And then they keep saying that like Starfleet doesn't have the resources after the Dominion War to fight the war, but the Cardassian fleet is there to fight the war, and it's like, and the Romulans are trying to like start a war too. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, the Cardassians got decimated more than everybody else in the Dominion War. So like, you're ignoring aspects of the world building that happened before in some regards and not other regards to try to make it like a plot point so that the Federation feels like the underdog. But logically, again, they wouldn't be the underdog here because the Cardassian fleet, there's no way they could fight a war right now. They just got nuked by the Dominion, right? They're in the worst shape, and they just for some reason the fleet's there, and they just don't mention it, but they mention it with the Federation. So it's like, again, there's just the attention to detail on editorial. It's Heather Antos. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about the lore or it making sense. It's a disaster. And so this warlike race is going to go out and fight it. The Romulans are manipulated. Again, the Romulans got decimated too. Remember how the Tal Shiar just got destroyed by the Dominion? It's not the Federation just got destroyed by the Dominion. I mean, it was a big deal across everybody. And so again, just the plot point doesn't make sense in the context of the world, and they just ignore it. But this is really the worst part about it. There's another part where they talk about elections and how people vote for force, and they're obviously talking about Donald Trump, which is insane too, because Trump is the only president that didn't get into a war. But he's like, I know, and I'm frustrated by how people vote too. Like Cisco's like this good liberal in 2024, and he knows that the people in 2024 are not voting the way he wants. it throws you out of the immersion immediately because it just does not make sense within the context of the world again. And it was very obvious what they were trying to say there. So full of politics, just disaster again, just like, ugh. And actually the main base plot of this like dinosaur creatures who are warlike, that's pretty cool. Like you could do that. It just takes a little editorial tweaking to like make it make sense. And then on top of it, just take this kind of stuff out and you'd have an okay book. It's not that hard. But it is that hard for these people because their politics transcends everything. All they want to do is sit there and lecture you about pronouns. They're batshit crazy people who run the comic book industry. And this is what Paramount gave to IDW to just let run amok again. I mean, the good news is nobody else is reading it except for me, right? So this is the only time you'll ever hear about it. Funny stuff. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit the like and subscribe button, my friends, and please check out my Emerald Array. This is good science fiction, guys. You're going to love this. There's 4 different awesome covers. There's a whole science fiction series this is based on, and it is wild fun. It's in the description below. Grab it today. Thank you guys so much for supporting our books. We'll be back soon.